got it?
It's not bad for an amateur.
Your first time in the kitchen?
You blew it!
You don't.
I quit.
And only they know if the truth is being served. All new Wednesday night at 10. Cooks versus Cons on Food Network.
Liar, liar. When the time of my life, and I owe it all to you.
Probably the greatest thing the internet has ever produced. And yet it turns out Hillary Clinton wasn't having the time of her life in that debate stage last year. Her new book, What Happened, is just 3 weeks away from release. You probably pre-ordered it. But we have newly released excerpts. In them, Clinton describes her visceral disgust, her revulsion at sharing a debate stage with Donald Trump.
It was the second presidential debate, and Donald Trump was looming behind me. 2 days before, the world heard him brag about groping women. Now we were on a small stage, and no matter where I walked, he followed me closely, staring at me, making faces. It was incredibly uncomfortable. He was literally breathing down my neck. My skin crawled. It was one of those moments where you wish you could hit pause and ask everyone watching, well, what would you do? Do you stay calm, keep smiling, and carry on as if he weren't repeatedly invading your space? Or do you turn, look him in the eye, and say loudly and clearly, back up, you creep, get away from me?
That's from the audiobook. Imagine listening to that on a long road trip. I don't even think Hillary voters would want to do that. Mark Stein has written, I think, more books than Hillary. He joins us now. So, Mark, there's this moment in there. I don't think we just played it, but she says this. She said, these are her thoughts as she's on the debate stage with Trump. She says, I know you love to intimidate women, but you can't intimidate me. And yet then she basically goes on to explain how intimidated she is by him. Which is it? Is she the victim or the strong person?
Yeah, when you said that was the audio book, by the way, I've already got that voice in my car. It's the one that tells you to fasten your seatbelt. I don't actually need an extended director's
I don't think I'm allowed to laugh, but anyway.
But initially when I heard it, when she's talking about this guy looming behind her, making her feel uncomfortable, invading her space with a reputation for groping women, and she wants to say, back off, you creep. I thought she was recalling her first date with Bill, but apparently not. This is how she feels about Trump. And there is something actually quite amazing, even when we go back to what you've been talking about tonight with the ESPN and all that, that Hillary Clinton is so unself-aware that she writes the central passage of her book is about what it's like to be made to feel uncomfortable by a man with a reputation for groping women. Well, now you know how Paula and Monica and Kathleen and Juanita and all the rest of them feel. It's incredible. This could have been an interesting book, but if it's as phony as this is just going to be, I believe, her third unread memoir.
You gotta wonder, though, if there's not an editor who maybe took Psych 101 in college who could say to her, maybe you shouldn't write that. I mean, in here she says, I've had a lifetime of dealing with difficult men. Maybe an editor would say, yeah, let's go ahead and take that out. You know what I mean? Because we don't want to add to the psychodrama. I guess no one in her universe can tell her that.
No, and can't tell her that the truth, which is that we'd all actually like to know the truth of the Clinton marriage. She knows some very dark secrets, and that would make an interesting book. But what's interesting here, too, is that if you just think, and we talked about this a few months ago, if you just think of the excuses she has come up with as to why she lost the election, we did a whole segment on her blaming it on Macedonian content farmers, if you recall. And you actually sent a reporter to the Macedonian embassy in Washington.
Or somebody to defend the honor of Macedonia. Yeah.
Exactly, and so this would be the all-time greatest thriller if Hillary traces the secret of her defeat. She actually visits a Macedonian content farm, and there's some gnarled old Macedonian content farmers sitting on the weathered porch of the Macedonian content farm, playing the Godolka as they sing the ancient peasant songs of their people. Macedonian content farmers back through the generations. That would have been an interesting book to read, to actually unravel the mystery as to why the most inevitable president in the history of inevitability is now washed up and wandering in the woods talking to herself and saying to Bill, well, you know, that Donald Trump, he really made me feel uncomfortable. And he has this reputation for groping women, Bill. Oh, where are you going? You're just popping in to see that attractive young widow who's moved in next door. That would be an actual Hillary Clinton book worth reading. But you know, Tucker, the thing about Hillary, I read her first memoir cover to cover, and the nonsense in Hillary's account of her life, going back to her very name, when, as you recall, she told Sir Edmund Hillary, conqueror of Everest, that she had been named after him. He conquered Everest in 1953. She was born in 1948 when Sir Edmund was an obscure New Zealand beekeeper.
He was a beekeeper, I remember that.
That's right.
I'm sorry, I took you past the gnarled Macedonian content farmers. Just do get Mark, we're out of time. I'm sorry. It was great to see you.
Great to see you, Tucker.